So today we're going to use PowerPoint 2010 to ungroup vector graphics. I'm starting by opening a blank presentation, and then when it brings me up my slide, I don't need any of the text boxes, so I'm going to go on layout and blank to get rid of them. We're going to use clip art for this, which you'll find on the insert tab, and then if you look almost directly underneath the word insert, it says clip art, which brings up a task pane on the right hand side of my screen. I then put in a search term, so I'm going to use a nice simple word, and I'm going to search for dogs in clip art. Now when I hover over each one of the images, it shows me a little description of the picture, who provided it, the size, but most importantly there are 3 letters in the bottom right hand corner, and what I'm looking for is WMF. Now WMF means that it's a vector graphic, and therefore you'll be able to ungroup it. Now I'm going to pick this one by just left clicking once, and it puts it straight into my slide. I'm now going to move it so that I can resize it whilst it's all grouped together. It's so much easier to do, and I've got my little dog selected there. Now you'll notice, because my image is selected, I have the Picture Tools Format menu available to me. If I click off and deselect my picture, it disappears, so just be aware of that if you can't see it, because we're going to need that menu tab. So I click back on my image so that I've got the Picture Tools Format menu, and I go over to the right hand side where it says Group. Now there's a little arrow which you can drop down and then gives you a menu, and you'll see Ungroup is available. This will only be available if your image is a vector graphic. So I ungroup. It then asks me if I wish to turn this into a drawing object, and I do. At this point it will stop becoming a picture and will change into a drawing object. I say yes, and it doesn't actually look like it's done anything, which is wonderfully worrying, but it has, I assure you, because you can see at the top that that Picture Tools tab has changed into Drawing Tools. Now we're going to go on the Drawing Tools Format tab, and we're going to go on Group again, and we're going to ungroup again. At the moment our image is only partly ungrouped, it's just changed into a drawing object. It's not fully in pieces yet, so we have to do this again. So I click Ungroup. When you get these pale blue dots, you know that absolutely everything has been taken apart in this image. So these show every single object that actually makes up this particular picture. I'm going to click off because at the moment everything's selected, and at this point you can then see that you can start pulling out the individual objects that make up this particular vector graphic. Now the hair's come off here in one piece, but you'll notice that the ear is in 4 pieces. If you want to keep things together, you need to select all the objects at the same time. Now to do this, hold your left mouse button down and drag a box over that particular area. I then move all of them off to one side. Now that's all of the objects, those 4 objects there, that make up that ear. Now just so it's easier, I'm going to group just those 4 objects back together again. Now I go on the Group menu and I group, and that ear is now solid, and I haven't got to worry about it falling apart into those 4 pieces. I've then got various things that I can get out of the image. The eye is in several pieces, so I do a selection again where I can pull everything off. You'll notice here that I've got part of the face underneath there that I don't actually want, so I'm going to select that out and use the delete key on my keyboard to get rid of it. I can then select the eye, Drawing Tools Format, and group those objects back together again. Now anything that's in the middle of the face is much harder to get out, so it does take a bit of practice. If you go wrong, the best thing to do is to undo. Now the quickest way to undo is to hold down Control on your keyboard and hit Z for every step that you wish to go back. Now I've taken the eyes off and the ear and the hair, and I'm actually going to get rid of the rest of this by just selecting everything that's left and using my delete key. I'm now going to search for a different vector image. So I'll put a different word into clipart and search. Be careful again, you're looking for that WMF. Now some of these you'll see aren't. This one's a JPEG, which means it's a bitmap raster image that we did last lesson in Understanding Images Lesson 1. This one is, so I'm going to click this one. I'm going to make it bigger now before I ungroup it because it's just so much easier. It's a picture at the moment, hence Picture Tools format. So we ungroup, group and ungroup. It will ask us to change into a drawing object. We say yes. Doesn't appear to do much, but it changes to drawing tools format. We group and ungroup again, and now we've got everything in pieces. Now you'll see that this one is even more complicated than the last one. There's loads of objects here, so we have to be really careful when we're selecting things out. I'm going to try and do the hands and move them out, and again my advice is anything complicated like that, once you've got it, group it back together again, and then you don't have to worry about losing it. Things that people tend to want are really difficult things, like the mouth here. This is very, very fiddly to get out. Now you'll notice I've got some of the green behind the face there, so you can delete bits out that you don't want and tidy it up before you then group it back together. And you just keep taking various vector graphics, you can take the eyebrows off, you can do all sorts of things, and then get rid of whatever you don't want, and then start making up a little image of your own, as mad as you like, to create your own monster out of the pictures that you've ungrouped. So I hope you enjoy that, make something crazy and have fun.